Hello, I'm John Thorne from Silverstone Shooting Centre, and this is the next in our video about the NRL22 precision rifle shooting for .22 caliber. Now, first video I explained about the championship itself, how it's American based, etc., and we're extending it over to the UK and other countries. And we discussed in terms of how the competition goes. But what we have noticed in watching the first 5 or 6 competitions here in the UK is that there are groups of people who are very experienced, know all of this. So this video you might as well turn off, okay? I'm going to teach you in the converted, okay? You already know more than I do. But quite a lot of people, which is what we want to do, is grow this sport, who've never shot precision rifle shooting before. So what we thought we'd do a few little videos, basically explain some of the kit, etc., but also explain the process of really how to improve your score. Now, precision rifle shooting as a whole, videos about, you know, breathing and positioning and trigger finger. I'm not intending to go through all that. There is no right or way or wrong way of shooting. It's very, very personal. But what I have noticed, and when eyeing all the competitions we've seen so far, is people don't know where their zero is. Now, precision rifle shooting, and the NRL22 especially, is all about shooting different targets at different distances, sometimes the same course of fire. So you all shoot a target at 25 meters away, your next target will be 100 yards away. Okay, so a big difference. And what we have found for a lot of people who have not been shooting this kind of shooting before is that they don't know where their rounds are going, taking account of elevation, their zero. So we thought we'd do a little video about how to zero a rifle for NRL22, or any kind of precision rifle shooting for that matter, to give you an idea. Now behind me I've got our range we use for the NRL22, it's a 100 meter range, and I've set up targets at 100 yards, 75 yards, 50 yards and 25 yards. Now these are paper targets, not the targets that we shoot at in terms of competition, which is steel, but paper targets. Now what I'm going to do is what we recommend you do is you zero your rifle to 50 yards, smack in the middle distance you'll shoot. What you need to do is get your zero 50 yards and then shoot targets at 25, 75 and 100 yards and see how much fall of shot, up or down, it will be according to your rifle and your optic and the ammo that you use. Okay, this is all very specific to you, so I can't tell you where they're going to go because it depends on what ammunition you're using, length of barrel, what kind of gun, what your scope is like, etc. But this is what I'm doing. So I use a Hawk Sidewinder scope. It's a 5 to 30 power. I'm using a Bergara B14 carbon rifle, and I use Gecko semi-automatic rifle. Now I could improve it with better ammo than was there, but we've got 1,000,000 rounds of Gecko and it seems pretty good in terms of precision shooting and very consistent. Now generally you shoot a subsonic or a standard velocity round for precision rifle shooting because supersonic rounds tend to get less stable above 80-90 yards. They're still wavering. So we tend to recommend a standard velocity or a subsonic if you can do it. Obviously subsonic will drop further at longer distance to take into account. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot a couple of rounds in at 50. Make sure I'm zero at 50 yards. Then I'm going to, without changing my positioning on the scope, I'm going to shoot at the center of the target at 25 and see what I need to adjust by. Same again at 75 yards and same again at 100 yards. The intention here is for me to see how much drop I've got between different distances that I can then adjust either on my scope or on holdover in terms of the gun or by adjustment on the elevation on the scope itself. Alright, let's have a look. So I'm going to walk down and see where my rounds went. Now I'd see through the scope roughly where they are, but you might as well go and have a look. So first off, we got at 25 yards. Bear in mind I'm already zeroed at 50 yards, so it depends where this will go. Now I can see here that at 25 yards, you know what, I'm fairly happy with that, smack in the middle of the target. So pretty pleased with that in terms of process, happy indeed. So that's 25 yards, so I can hold my exactly same zero for a 25 yard target or at a 50 yard target. Now pretty much anywhere between 25 and 50 yards will be pretty much the same, one would assume. It's a very short distance, therefore your holdover and that sort of distance should be reasonably close together. So let's see what it's like at 50 yards, which is where it's zeroed to. So as I can see, pretty much, yeah, happy with that. Again, would like to have the X at 50 yards, kind of everything. Obviously it's the first cold shot of the gun as well. So at 50 yards and 25 yards, I'm the same zero. So I can hold that position all the way through. But what I think will happen is we're going to drop. So if we walk now to 75 yards, now granted this is very easy for us here, this range is set up for PRL22. As you can see, there are white marker boards all down the side of the ranges. They're in 5 yard increments. So it's very easy for me to put out a target at 75, 85 yards, etc. But here we are at 75 yards, and now I've got, as I can see, I've probably dropped, what, 2.5 inches or so on that one. So, and I pulled the shot a little bit, but we'll deal with that later on. And again, I've already zeroed this, it's more for filming. But I know I'm about 2.5 inches lower. So in a course of fire, if I have metal targets at 75 meters, 75 yards rather, and I maintain I don't change my hold over on my scope, I know I need to aim about 2.5 inches higher, which depending on reticles and scope, I'll hold over on the scope itself, but I'll do that later on. Then finally, we've got 100 yards. Now if I've dropped 2.5 inches at 75 yards, what do you think the drop is at another 25 yards? 25 yards doesn't sound like much. That last little bit of distance makes a huge difference to the drop, especially at distance you have. And as you can see, I'm actually off the target. Okay, so my holdover needs to be a lot higher at 100 meters, probably 6 inches looking at it. So that's a crucial thing to know. And we've seen that in competitions. People are aiming and they're getting targets up close pretty well, but as they go further distance, they're missing entirely. You know, they're 6 inches off. So you need to know where your rounds are going to go at longer distance. And this is a nice exercise to do it on. I'll have a bit of play and adjust accordingly in terms of the rounds I got. And obviously 100 meters, then what I'll tend to do if I want to feel like I practice, not have a chance to, is I'll put steel plate target as well, make sure I can hit it from there. But that's the idea. So you sit in the middle of the range, 50 meters or 50 yards out to 100 yards, but that gives you a nice idea of the range. So I don't need to adjust my scope, I don't need to, but I know that if I'm shooting at 50 yards zero, I got 100. Now the next thing we do after that is that we adjust on the scope. So for example, let's say I'll have a few shots practicing the holdover and back to forth. And what I'll do next is, now I know I'm a 50 yard zero, I know it's 5 or 25 yards, is I'll start to practice on how many clicks or holdover I need to put on the scope to bring me to a perfect zero at 75 yards. And then again at 100 yards again, which will be quite a lot. Now the reason why you do that is there are some courses of fire where they're more longer distance. You'll have targets say 75 yards to 100 yards. So all the targets are further away. There's no point trying to maintain a 2.5 to 6 inch holdover on that basis. What you're best off doing is having your zero set for your gun, so I will know. So I will then set on this on the gun to know how many clicks I need to put up to get to 75 yards and again to 100 yards. That gives me then a higher zero and a lower zero in terms of process. The real fun course of fire, of course, they give you 25 yards and 100 yards. Then you haven't got time to adjust your scope, or sometimes you do, but what you're really trying to do there is also get a lot of range of shots. And some course of fire do specifically state you can't change your optics. You've got to basically only change on your parallax, so where it's blurred or not, so it's worth knowing. Now, there's a huge amount of practice goes into this. All I do is quickly do it for the video. So for the purpose of you can, go to your range, see if you can set up targets different distances. If you can't, go to your 25 meter range, get your zero, go to your 50 meter range, get your zero, go to your 100 yard range and get your zero, then work it out from there. Here's nice and easy because I can put them out anywhere from 25 yards to 100 yards. But that's the concept. Get that nailed, you'll do very well. All right, hope that's useful. We'll do some more videos coming up with the course of fire going through. Hope it's useful then. All right, cheers.